Women's World Cup is well into match day 12 with more teams advancing to the round of 16 and more teams going home. Co-host Australia hammered Canada 4-0 in Group C, moving on to the next round. Also in Group C, Spain suffered a shock defeat with the same 4-0 score against Japan. The Japanese scored 3 times in the first half alone and will move on with 3 match wins. But it was goodbye for newbies Zambia. Still, they are leaving on a high note with a 3-1 win over Costa Rica. For Tuesday's matches set to get underway soon, the U.S. faces Portugal, where a win or draw will see them advance. And all eyes will be on the U.S. head coach, who has come under fire for his coaching style against the Netherlands. The other top billing is China versus England. Now, China has not beaten any European opponents since 2015, and a win will put them at 6 points. For more on the upcoming match between China and England, Greg Navarro reports from Adelaide.
All 5 FIFA Women's World Cup matches being played here at the stadium in Adelaide are sold out. On Tuesday night, the expected crowd of about 13,500 people are in for quite a treat when Asian Cup champions China take on European champs England. England currently sits atop Group D in first place after wins over Denmark and Haiti. A win over China would see it advance to the knockout stage in that top spot. A win for China over England would see it advance to the knockout stage for a 7th Women's World Cup. A draw, however, makes things a bit trickier, and its path to the knockout stage really depends on what happens in the game between Denmark and Haiti. That's also being played here in Australia on Tuesday. Now, China won its last match against Haiti by a score of 1-0, and it did so despite being down a player, playing with just 10 players because of a red card to Zhang Rei. Now, England also won its last match. It did so against Denmark by a score of 1-0, but lost its star midfielder, Kira Walsh, due to injury. She is not expected to play here on Tuesday when England faces off against China. Greg Navarro, CGTN, Adelaide.
4 African teams are represented at the Women's World Cup. They are Morocco, South Africa, Nigeria, and Zambia, who, as we mentioned earlier, are now heading home. Nigeria drew 0-0 against the Republic of Ireland, but advanced to the round of 16. The Super Falcons were pre-tournament underdogs, but ended up finishing 2nd in Group B. Now, Morocco not only earned an historic win over South Korea, they are still within fighting distance of a knockout round spot. And while South Africa lost 2-1 against Sweden, they managed to draw against Argentina. A spot in the round of 16 is still on the line when they face Italy on Wednesday. Now, for more on the African teams at the Women's World Cup, let's bring in Onyinyechi Ogu Obaroh. She's a sports anchor at Nigeria's News Central TV. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Elaine. It's great to join you today.
Well, first, let's talk about the success we're seeing the new and returning teams having at the Women's World Cup. What's your take?
It's a great one for African teams who are making their showing at the Women's World Cup this year. We've got 2 debutants, Morocco, Zambia, and it's been wonderful for them. Mixed results for the quartet, I would say. But Nigeria is leading the charge. They were on paper touted to be the favorites to go all the way at the World Cup, the African side to go all the way because they've got more experience than the other sides who are making their showings at the World Cup. South Africa are making their 2nd showing, Zambia their 1st time, Morocco their 1st time, but we've been seeing a little bit of shakiness over there for the sides who are representing the continent. Nigeria today sealed it into the round of 16, and it's great. It's all joy here in Nigeria because it's the first time we are having to make the round of 16 back-to-back, and also the first time we are going to the round of 16 without conceding too much of a goals. We conceded only 2 goals, and that's great there after playing goalless against Canada and also playing goalless against our last team there. We beat the host nation, Australia, and that's also great. So it's a big win for the Nigerian team because they have been solid on ground. But the other teams, debutant Zambia, they are going with their head held high, having to win the last game in the group standing. Zambia coming to this competition for the first time. They would have to go back to dot the I's, cross the T's, and make sure they correct every single mistake they've made in the competition. While Morocco, we are waiting if they can be able to make it to the round of 16. South Africa has got a chance if they can seal it against Italy, but it has been wonderful for the African sides at the competition.
Well, I want to ask you also about the fan reaction that you've been seeing across the continent as these matches have been coming in. What are you seeing and hearing from the fans?
I've been hearing a lot of good things, especially in Nigeria. Now, the Nigerians are already celebrating like they've won the competition, because this is the first time they're having to win this, go to the round of 16 back to back. And in the midst of the bonus issues, we are seeing the girls play so well. We are seeing the girls, go past the struggles, go past what is happening at home, and then put in their very best on the field of play. Every single player from the Nigerian team has been on their A game, and that's the great thing we are seeing here. So we're taking our worries away from what we heard before the competition between the coach and the Nigerian Football Federation, and we're already happy that they are through to the round of 16. So it's joy all over in the air here in Nigeria. While South Africans are crossing their fingers, hoping that the Banyana can be able to do justice against Italy and then get a win. They have been going with bad decision in the final third, having poor game management, and we do not know why they're having that poor showing at the FIFA World Cup, because these are African champions. They were spectacular at the just concluded Women's African Cup of Nations, and we're seeing a different Banyana at the FIFA Women's World Cup. They might say that this world stage jitters may be because Banyana are making their second showing, but we are hoping that they can also bring joy to South Africans and those who are supporting them from home. But you talk of Morocco. Moroccan ladies did come into the competition with a 6-0 topping by Germany, but they came back in the second game. They picked their first win, being the first Arab side to ever get a win, 3 points at the FIFA Women's World Cup. They also made history. I'm waiting to see that game against Italy. So it's all joy in the air over here in Africa.
About a minute left. With so much excitement, my last question to you is, what strides are being made to boost women's soccer in Africa, taking advantage of what's happening here?
A lot has been put into work so we can have women's football develop in Africa. Federations are trying to, put in financial support, get media support, get the government support here. But I really think there are few federations who are having to do all that, put their hands on deck, all hands on deck, to make sure that women's football go all the way on the continent. Now, I remember a little survey done by the Confederation of African Football asking these federations if they pay their women salaries, they pay the women who play the domestic league salaries, and only 4 member associations did say they pay salaries. 41% don't even have women's domestic league. So there's a lot to be done in Africa. But I think more we should focus on should be, 1, a little bit of media support and financial support. Let us have salaries being paid to these ladies. Let's have them get sponsors for their league. This is the only way we can have this women's football grow on the continent. I remember Morocco. Morocco has become the home of African football. Morocco had to go back into the drawing board, get 3 years in order to employ a coach who is a former coach of a Women's Champions League side, Olympique Lyon. Ronald Pedros, he's the coach of Morocco. They had to go in to do the work, and they came back. This time around, you can see the proceedings from Morocco. We could see it from the CAF Women's Champions League. As for ladies, we're the runners-up in the inaugural edition. And the second edition, we had seen as for ladies going all the way to beat Mamelodi Sundown ladies. Now, talking about Mamelodi Sundown ladies, South Africa is another place where I can say they're having good grade for women's football, good impact in women's football. They have a working league that has got a sponsor. But Nigeria's got a long way to go. We do not have a sponsor for the Nigerian Women's Football League here. I remember the last season where we had the state government sponsor the prize money for the winners of the competition. This should not happen. We should have sponsors for Women's League. The key thing to promoting Women's League in Africa, I think, is participation. Let all hands be on deck, and we can have good growth for women's football in Africa.
All important points. Onyinyechi Ogu, Obaroh, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your insight.